only visible to those who have access to the lab's network. For now, it's an insider secret, a small network of researchers in a sleepy Cambridge building. But there's no telling how quickly the word will spread, or how soon this small act of digital laziness will ripple outward, seeding the next big leap in digital culture. The webcam isn't yet a world-changing force. The internet is still a thing of nascent potential, something mostly confined to the academic world. The early 90s are a time of slow growth for the internet, fragments of connection here and there. A curious, experimental thing that most people don't yet understand. The coffee pot webcam, though, will eventually become part of the narrative of the digital age, an odd, humble beginning to what will eventually be a global phenomenon. Historians still argue whether it's the first true webcam, or if there were other earlier efforts at live streaming technology. Some suggest the famous weather cams of the early 90s in California or Japan were precursors. And yet, none of those cameras captured the imagination of the digital world quite like the coffee pot. Its simplicity, its ordinariness, was its brilliance. It didn't aim to change the world, but in its very simplicity, it helped lay the groundwork for everything that would come after from here. Things will start to evolve. The initial excitement around the webcam won't last forever, but the questions it raises will. How can we connect? What does it mean to have a constant, real-time view into someone else's world? The coffee pot webcam is the first digital mirror, reflecting an otherwise insignificant moment of daily life. As the camera continues to stream, what starts as a joke will morph into the beginning of a new era, a time when digital streams, once rare and niche, will become as ubiquitous as the coffee pot itself. You can almost hear the quiet hum of the internet as it starts to form around you, bits of data flowing through copper cables, gradually turning into something larger. This quiet feed, barely visible to the human eye, is the first thread in the massive web of information that will one day connect the entire world. The coffee pot, once the butt of an inside joke, is now a metaphor for the early, awkward days of the internet, clumsy but filled with promise. And though this might all seem trivial now, it's the foundation of something that will become much, much more. The flickering coffee pot image on the monitor becomes a familiar sight to the small group of researchers, who are all too familiar with the empty pot situation. It's hard to imagine how this grainy feed, this tiny window into a corner of a tired lab, could amount to much more than a quirky little tool. Yet, it's beginning to feel like something is quietly stirring under the surface. The concept is simple enough. An image captured from a cheap camera, streamed onto a local network for the benefit of a small group of coffee-addicted researchers. But beneath this simplicity, something significant is quietly bubbling up, changing the very way the digital world will interact with presence and communication. What the webcam is showing isn't just a snapshot of an object. It's a new way of thinking about connection. In a world still in the infancy of the internet, this small private network becomes the starting point for something much larger. The idea of sharing a live view in real time with others is not groundbreaking yet, but the seeds of this idea are planted here. For the first time, a non-human object is being observed remotely by a digital lens. This is the first step towards something that would eventually become ubiquitous. Live-streaming.eu. Start to imagine how this system might evolve, even if the team here at Cambridge can't see the full extent of it. The coffee pot is merely a placeholder for any number of possibilities. What if you could stream a meeting? Or show what's happening in a lecture? Or, more simply, see a live feed of something you care about? The applications feel endless, even in these early moments. But for now, all they care about is whether there's coffee in the pot. Historians still argue about whether this truly counts as the first webcam. After all, it's a private stream on a local network, not something visible to the outside world. Some say that honor should go to other projects, like the early weather cams in California, or the networked cameras used in research settings for surveillance purposes. But what sets this coffee pot apart is its humanity, the way it captured something so normal, so mundane, and yet so important to the team. The feed didn't just represent a technical breakthrough. It represented a connection, a tiny step toward understanding how the digital world could interact with the physical one. The coffee pot webcam wasn't designed to be revolutionary, but in its simplicity, it points toward a larger future. This moment feels like the first spark of something much bigger, even if no one truly understands it yet. The Trojan room, and the webcam that now quietly feeds images of the coffee pot, is more than just an academic research facility. It's become the birthplace of an idea about how the internet could be used to create constant connection. It's not a perfect idea, not a visionary one, but it's a start. And, as with most early moments in history, it's easy to overlook its significance. For the researchers, the webcam is just a tool to make their lives a little bit easier. For the rest of the world, however, it will soon become an emblem of digital transformation, a subtle, behind-the-scenes moment that will pave the way for a new era of communication. You sit back and think about the implications of what's happening in this room. It feels almost too logical serendipity, tiny, simple idea that, by virtue of curiosity and humor, becomes something much larger. Either way, the coffee pot's silent presence in the Trojan room has already begun to ripple outward, touching the future in ways no one could have predicted. You notice the soft glow of the monitor, reflecting off the stainless steel of the pot, the grainy pixels making the surface appear almost ethereal. The juxtaposition of the ordinary and the extraordinary is striking. Here, in this small, quiet lab, a simple object becomes a window into possibility. A coffee pot, a few lines of code, and a flickering image. This is how revolutions often start, not with grand proclamations, but with small acts of human ingenuity, curiosity, and a touch of humor. Asterisk, you lean back, letting the gentle hum of the monitors lull you into a semi-conscious rhythm, noticing how the simple act of watching a coffee pot feels almost meditative. Each time the feed refreshes, there's a subtle movement, a swirl of steam, the reflection of fluorescent light, a shadow of a researcher passing by in the corner. It's banal and mesmerizing all at once, a quiet spectacle that no one outside this small lab could possibly imagine. But here, in this cramped room, something extraordinary is happening. The first seed of digital laziness is being planted, the notion that, with technology, one could be anywhere without moving at all. The researchers are blissfully unaware of the broader implications. They joke about not having to leave their chairs again, about delegating life's simplest task to a machine. And in that lightheartedness, you notice a curious truth. Necessity often births innovation, but humor sustains it. The coffee pot webcam is both a practical tool and a shared joke. It embodies the way humans instinctively combine function and play, a fusion that later generations of internet users will continue to explore. Historians still argue whether this experiment is truly a cornerstone of always-on digital culture, or merely a delightful oddity. Some point to the first experimental weather cams in California or the video feeds in Japanese labs, suggesting that similar technologies existed. Yet what makes the Trojan room feed exceptional isn't technical sophistication. It's the human context, the mix of tired minds, caffeine dependence, and a desire to make life easier. These factors imbue the experiment with an organic significance that purely technical predecessors lacked. You notice how the feed subtly enforces new digital habits. Watching the coffee pot becomes almost compulsive. Every refresh is a mini reward, a tiny reassurance that life is continuing smoothly somewhere else. The researchers adjust to this new rhythm, coordinating their coffee breaks with the feed rather than with proximity or instinct. In a strange, almost comical way, the webcam fosters the first inklings of what we now understand as presence without physicality, the digital observation of everyday life, a precursor to the always-on culture that dominates modern living. A quirky detail catches your eye. Someone has scribbled on a nearby whiteboard. The pot waits for no one. It's absurd, but it reflects the obsessive attention the team already invests in this small, inanimate object. The coffee pot, while unremarkable in and of itself, becomes a nexus of human behavior, a touchstone for understanding how small technologies influence routines, expectations, and interactions. You can't help but think of this as the first tiny lesson in how a digital tool can shape life in unforeseen ways. Even now, the limitations of the technology are evident. Bandwidth is low, refreshes are slow, and the black and white feed is grainy enough to make you question whether you're seeing a pot or a miniature ghost of one. And yet, it works. In its imperfection lies the charm and the lesson. The path of innovation is rarely smooth. The coffee pot webcam is a humble reminder that technological revolutions often start not with perfection, but with clever improvisation, patience, and a willingness to tinker in a quiet, dimly lit room. From here, you start to feel the rhythm of the lab, the hum of machines, the soft clicking of keyboards, and the quiet observation of a pot of coffee. It's a rhythm that mirrors the pulse of the early internet itself, tentative, experimental, and slowly expanding outward. Watching the pixels dance, you realize that this simple act, checking a coffee pot remotely, has unwittingly become a meditation on connectivity. A small first brush with the vast, intricate networks that will eventually envelop the globe. Asterisk. As the days pass, the coffee pot webcam settles into a comfortable, if somewhat absurd, routine. The feed continues to flicker every few seconds, updating with a slight delay, showing the same view of the coffee pot and the quiet corner of the Trojan room. It's hard to explain, but somehow you find yourself drawn to it. You lean in, squinting at the blurry pixels, waiting for the slightest change, maybe a researcher passing by, a glimpse of steam rising from the pot, or even a subtle reflection of the lab lights. There's something oddly calming about the feed, as if it offers a sense of continuity in an otherwise chaotic world. The researchers are no longer as amused by the camera. To them, it's become just another tool in the lab. But for you, watching this tiny snapshot of the world unfold every few moments, something quietly profound begins to emerge. The webcam, which was designed as a simple convenience to avoid unnecessary walks, has become a window into a new form of observation. This digital laziness, this desire to check the coffee pot remotely, is the beginning of something that would soon become a cultural and technological norm. It's the first taste of what would later be called always-on culture, always connected, always observing, always aware. Historians still argue about the true significance of the coffee pot webcam. Some see it as a funny little experiment that had no lasting impact. while others argue that it's the first spark of a global shift toward live streaming and real-time digital communication. It's difficult to quantify just how much this one moment in the Trojan room will influence the world that comes after it. What's clear, though, is that it's the first step in the digital transformation of the world. At its heart, the webcam represents a shift in how people interact with technology, how it begins to move beyond mere tools and becomes something more, an extension of daily life, a seamless part of how we experience the world. You think back to the researchers who were merely solving a small problem, making it easier to check the coffee pot. They probably had no idea that their small, playful experiment would later be recognized as the beginning of the live streaming culture that defines so much of the internet today. But that's often the nature of technological innovation. It starts small, often with the most trivial of problems, and gradually grows into something much larger, something that will change the world in ways its creators never imagined. As you sit there, observing the faint grainy pixels of the coffee pot, it's easy to get lost in the simplicity of the moment. The feed flickers, pauses, and refreshes, unremarkable. Yet, somehow, it feels like the first flicker of something much bigger. You can almost hear the quiet hum of the network growing, data slowly trickling through wires, creating new pathways, linking people together in ways they hadn't thought possible. What's incredible is that all of this, every video stream, every live broadcast, every instant communication you take for granted today, has its roots in this one simple, somewhat ridiculous webcam feed. The coffee pot wasn't the first object to be streamed online, and it certainly wasn't the first webcam to be built. But it was the first that captured the imagination in a way that suggested how digital tools could transcend simple functionality and start shaping the way humans communicate, interact, and even experience the world around them. You look again at the grainy feed on the screen. It seems so ordinary, and yet, in this simple little moment, you're witnessing the birth of something that will grow and evolve beyond anyone's expectations. The webcam wasn't supposed to change the world. It wasn't supposed to revolutionize the way we live. It was just supposed to check the coffee pot. And yet, in a sense, it did. It changed everything, in ways both large and small. Asterisk, you sit back, your eyes lingering on the still pixelated image of the coffee pot, quietly observing how the mundane can take on an unexpected weight in the digital age. The simplicity of a steady stream of pixelated black and white images is deceptive. What was originally an inside joke among a small group of researchers is beginning to feel like the first chapter of a new story. And while the coffee pot, as an object, will never be the central figure of this story, it's starting to feel like the perfect symbol for a larger shift in how we'll eventually live and connect. At first, it's hard to believe that something as simple as a coffee pot on a monitor could truly mark the dawn of live streaming culture. But as the feed updates again and again, you begin to realize that its quiet presence is providing something else entirely, an awareness, a sense of constant connection that transcends physical space. In this humble, grainy snapshot, you can already see the outlines of something that will one day become ubiquitous. The webcam feed, once a private experiment, will soon evolve into the foundation for real-time streaming that will take over the internet in a few short years. Historians still argue whether this early webcam truly counts as the first. In terms of its digital legacy, some point to earlier, more serious uses of webcams in scientific fields, like the infamous weather cams or lab surveillance feeds, and wonder if those deserve the honor. But none of those had the same humanity, the same everyday relevance that the coffee pot webcam possessed. The difference lies in its triviality. Wasn't trying to be revolutionary, it just was. And perhaps that's what makes it so significant. Sometimes the most monumental shifts begin in the most unassuming ways. And this webcam is one such example. You can almost feel the ripple effects start to form. What began as a small, internal network feed slowly begins to expand. Word spreads, as it always does. A few curious individuals hear about the coffee pot webcam, see it in action, and wonder, could this be used for something else? What started as a simple tool for avoiding unnecessary trips to the coffee pot will soon be applied in ways no one can yet fathom. Live streaming feeds will eventually grow from these small, experimental routes into something capable of changing how people view entertainment, communication, and even their own lives. As the feed refreshes again, you begin to realize that what started as a joke about avoiding the inconvenience, watching for danger, it was a camera trained on a coffee pot in a lab, and it was about making life easier for a few tired researchers. It was about human connection in its most simple, innocent form. But that connection, what started as a joke and a minor convenience, would eventually become a metaphor for the larger shifts in how technology would influence daily life. The coffee pot webcam was just a single, small example of how technology was starting to merge with our routines, our habits, and our social lives. Soon enough, people would start to realize that this simple act of watching something remotely could be extended to everything. Watching a coffee pot online would become the start of something far greater: live streaming, surveillance, and digital communication. It's hard to fully grasp the significance of this webcam now, in the quiet of the Trojan room, but it's becoming clear that what seemed like an insignificant piece of technology was, in fact, one of the first steps toward an always-on digital future. The webcam, a cheap, grainy, somewhat laughable piece of equipment, was quietly shifting the way people thought about observation and connection. It was starting to redefine how we would experience the world through pixels, screens, and, ultimately, through digital presence. You start to see that this webcam, in all its rough imperfections, represents something much more than the researchers could have ever predicted. It's not just about checking the coffee pot anymore. It's about seeing the world in real time, about being able to experience things without physically being there. It's the start of a new kind of reality, one where distance is irrelevant, where presence is defined not by proximity but by a digital connection. And all of it began here, in a tiny Cambridge lab, with a coffee pot and a camera. Asterisk, as days pass, the coffee pot webcam begins to take on a life of its own, especially when earlier systems, such as weather cams in California or networked surveillance cameras, had already captured real-time images. Those systems, though, had never captured the public's imagination in the same way. They were about function, not connection. The coffee pot webcam, though, tapped into something deeply human. It wasn't about surveilling a distant mountain or monitoring a parking lot. It was about checking in on a communal space, making sure there was enough coffee to keep everyone going. It was about simplifying the little things. And in its very simplicity, it became a precursor to an entirely new way of thinking about presence and communication in the digital age. You realize that this webcam, in its unassuming way, has changed the lab's environment. Researchers are no longer reliant on their physical proximity to the coffee pot. They can now check it remotely, adjusting their schedules to the rhythms of the webcam feed. The coffee pot isn't just an object in the room anymore. It's a digital artifact, part of a larger system of connected technologies that will soon make the world feel a little smaller and a lot more interconnected. The coffee pot webcam, as trivial as it may seem, is laying the groundwork for a shift in how people relate to both technology and each other. As you reflect on this, you realize that the coffee pot webcam is not just a precursor to the live streaming culture we know today. It's the beginning of a shift toward digital presence. The webcam gives its viewers a way to be connected to something, to someone, even when they're physically absent. It starts with a coffee pot, but it won't end there. Over time, this simple act of observation will become more complex, more widespread, until eventually the whole world is live streamed, accessible in real time by anyone with an internet connection. This is the first flicker of that world, a tiny, blurry feed that will one day grow into a massive digital infrastructure, a digital presence where no one is ever really out of sight. You watch the coffee pot again. It's not a perfect feed, but it's enough. It's enough to change the world. And as small as it seems, you can almost feel the pulse of the internet starting to hum slowly, imperceptibly, but undeniably. The coffee pot webcam, by now, has become part of the Trojan Room's daily life. The stream continues without interruption, the image updating every few seconds, and you can almost hear the quiet hum of the internet slowly coming to life. What once seemed like a small, amusing experiment is becoming something larger. The researchers may not have realized it at the time, but they've inadvertently created the first example of a tool that would change the way humans interacted with the digital world forever. This simple, grainy webcam feed meant, only for internal uses, the first glimpse into a future where live streaming and constant connectivity would be the norm. The researchers still joke about it, but there's a sense that their creation has taken on a life of its own. No one is questioning its usefulness anymore. It's become a fixture in their workspace. The webcam, which was originally just a convenience, is now part of the lab's culture, shaping the way they interact with each other and their environment. It's a subtle shift, but it's there. And it's a shift that mirrors the larger cultural transformation that will happen over the next few decades. The internet will evolve, and the idea of constant digital presence will slowly take hold. But it all starts here, in this tired, fluorescent lit room with a coffee pot and a webcam. You glance back at the feed. It's almost hypnotic in its simplicity. Every update brings the same view. The coffee pot, slowly steaming. The occasional flicker of light reflecting off its surface. It's not much, but it's enough. Enough to transform the way these researchers experience their workday. Enough to introduce the idea that technology can be used to observe, to connect, and to interact in ways that were once impossible. You begin to understand how even the smallest technological innovations can snowball into something much larger. The coffee pot webcam wasn't meant to be revolutionary, it was just meant to solve a small, everyday problem. But its impact is undeniable. Historians still debate whether this webcam can truly be called the first of its kind. After all, similar experiments were being conducted in other parts of the world, though not with the same sense of playfulness or cultural resonance. The coffee pot webcam stands out not just because of its technical innovation, but because it spoke to a deeper, more human need, the need for connection, for presence, and for ease. It wasn't about surveillance or weather patterns. It was about checking in on something mundane, something everyone in the room could relate to. It wasn't just a webcam, it was a tiny window into a shared experience. As you reflect on this, you realize that what seemed like a trivial little project has sparked something much bigger. The coffee pot webcam isn't just a precursor to the live streaming culture we now take for granted. It's the beginning of a shift in how we understand digital presence. It's the first spark of a world where being physically present doesn't always matter. You can be connected, engaged, and part of something even when you're not physically there. The coffee pot webcam, in its small way, demonstrated that possibility. It gave the world its first taste of always-on culture, where technology makes it possible to see, share, and experience things in real time. Regardless of where you are, you look back at the webcam feed, still flickering softly on the screen, and realize that, even in its simplicity, it's starting to feel like something familiar. The feed, once a novelty, is now a part of the everyday digital landscape. It's not about the coffee pot anymore. It's about the concept of digital observation, of creating a window into a world that doesn't require physical presence. The coffee pot may be the object being observed, but it's also the catalyst for a larger conversation about how we connect, how we share, and how we live in a world that is increasingly digital, by now. The coffee pot webcam has become a part of the fabric of the Trojan room, an unspoken fixture woven into the rhythms of the researcher's workday. No one remarks on it much anymore. It's just there. The once quirky solution to avoid walking down the hall has transformed into something much more profound, though no one in the lab fully realizes it yet. The grainy, black and white feed continues to flicker every few seconds. As it has for days, now so routine, it blends seamlessly into the background of their lives. But in the quiet of this small lab, something larger is quietly taking shape. The camera, pointing at the coffee pot, has become an unintentional portal, gateway to a new form of presence in the digital age. As you reflect on this, you notice how the simple act of checking the coffee pot has already begun to change the way the researchers operate. There's an efficiency to it. Now no one has to waste time walking down the hall to check if there's coffee. They just glance at the screen. But it's more than that. The coffee pot webcam is also subtly shaping the way they think about technology. It's no longer just a tool. It's a companion, a constant observer that changes the dynamic of the workspace. The researchers don't just interact with the pot. They interact with its digital representation, a version of reality that exists outside their physical space. You can feel the undercurrent of change in the room. The coffee pot webcam is no longer just a convenience, it's a signal of things to come. The digital space is becoming just as real as the physical one. And in this lab, a tiny experiment that was meant to solve a small, personal problem is now laying the groundwork for a digital transformation. This webcam, focused on a mundane object, is one of the first instances of what will soon become ubiquitous, always-on digital observation, a constant stream of presence that will eventually come to define how we live, work, and connect with each other. Historians still debate whether this moment in the Trojan room truly counts as the beginning of digital streaming. Some suggest there were earlier systems that involved live video feeds, like surveillance cameras or weather stations. But what sets the coffee pot webcam apart is its simplicity, its ordinary. Unlike weather cams or surveillance systems, which were designed for specific utilitarian purposes, this webcam was a reaction to a simple human need, the desire to save time, to avoid unnecessary steps. It was a simple answer to a trivial problem, but in doing so, it laid the foundation for something much larger. And this simplicity is what makes it revolutionary. The coffee pot webcam wasn't just a technical feat, it was a human one. It was about making life a little bit easier, a little bit more convenient, and sometimes those are the moments that end up changing the world. As the days stretch on, you begin to notice how the coffee pot feed becomes more than just a tool. It becomes a part of the lab's collective consciousness. The researchers, once so detached from the coffee pot, are now relying on its webcam to shape their behavior. They adjust their schedules to the refreshes of the feed, checking it more out of habit than necessity. The webcam doesn't just represent a digital window into the lab's environment, it represents the first steps toward a world where everything is observed, recorded, and shared in real time. You imagine how this moment will later be seen as the dawn of something bigger, the always-on world of digital media, where live streams of every event, every conversation, every experience will become as common as checking your email. You lean in to watch the feed again. The coffee pot, steaming in the low light, flickers slightly as the refresh happens. The image is still grainy, but it feels almost comforting in its steadiness. In a strange way, it's become a representation of digital continuity, of how technology can weave itself into the fabric of daily life, making the ordinary extraordinary. As the world around them slowly shifts, the researchers in the Trojan room remain blissfully unaware that this tiny, pixelated coffee pot is part of a much larger evolution. What started as a simple solution to a caffeine problem will soon become a piece of technological history, paving the way for everything that will follow in the digital age. The coffee pot webcam continues to hum quietly in the background of the Trojan room, its grainy feed still offering a steady, if unimpressive, window into the mundane life of the lab. But there's something undeniably significant about it now. The researchers, once skeptical and amused, have come to rely on the feed's steady rhythm, providing a sense of consistency in a world that is constantly moving forward, sometimes at a pace that's hard to keep up with. As the weeks pass, the coffee pot becomes less of a joke and more of an integral part of the lab's routine, a small but vital piece of their day. The webcam's functionality, though limited by the technology of the time, has already begun to show its value. No longer do the researchers have to wander down the hall thinking about how this will change the world. They're just trying to avoid another caffeine crisis. But in the years to come, that simple webcam feed will come to symbolize the beginnings of the digital age we know today. As the months roll on, the coffee pot webcam becomes less and less of a novelty. What was once a curious, amusing experiment has now become a fixture of daily life at the Trojan room. You start to notice how the presence of the webcam affects the way people move through the space. They don't check the coffee pot by walking over to it anymore. Instead, they glance at the monitor, confirming that coffee is either there or not, and move on. It's a small change, but it's significant. The coffee pot, once an inanimate object that lived in the physical world, has become part of a digital ecosystem of presence that exists both in the physical and the virtual. It is no longer just a pot. It's now part of a shared digital experience, quietly shaping the routine of the lab. What's fascinating is how easily this new reality settles into place. The researchers no longer think about the webcam as a piece of groundbreaking technology. It's simply there, doing its job, helping them get through the day with a little less effort. But beneath the surface, something profound is happening. This webcam isn't just monitoring a coffee pot. It's laying the groundwork for an entirely new way of thinking about connection. The idea that you can observe something anywhere in real time is slowly becoming a cultural norm. And this small, grainy webcam feed intended to help avoid unnecessary trips has opened up the possibility of something much larger. Historians still debate the true significance of the coffee pot webcam. Many argue that it wasn't the first webcam or the first live stream after all. There were other video feeds before this. But there's something special about the coffee pot. Its ordinariness is its power. Unlike other webcams that were used for surveillance or specialized research, this one was connected to a simple human need: caffeine. It wasn't about observing a distant location or tracking a process. It was about making life just a little bit easier, about connecting with the mundane tasks of daily life in a way that had never been done before. The coffee pot webcam has become a small, quiet symbol of how technology can change the way we experience the world. It's not flashy or complicated. It doesn't have the sleek, polished finish of modern devices, but it has become the foundation for something much larger, something that will eventually permeate every part of life: live streaming. The idea of streaming video in real time, of observing distant events as though you were there, will grow from this simple concept into a global force. The coffee pot webcam didn't intend to revolutionize the world, but in its own way. It is the first step in creating an always-on world, a world where people can share experiences in real time, without boundaries. By now, the lab members hardly notice the webcam anymore. It's just another part of the scenery. They've come to rely on it, but it doesn't command their attention the way it once did. However, the world outside the Trojan room is starting to change. The ideas that began here, with a camera and a coffee pot, are starting to echo in other places. News of the webcam experiment spreads, slowly but surely, as more people outside the lab begin to realize its potential. They see the simplicity of it, the way the webcam has taken something as mundane as a coffee pot and turned it into a digital presence. And they start to wonder, what else could be observed in real time? What else could be shared? It's hard to know at this point that what started as a quirky experiment will soon become a cultural and technological milestone. The coffee pot webcam is about to give birth to a new world, a world where the ordinary can be shared and experienced in real time, wherever you are. And though it's still a small, relatively unknown experiment, it's already starting to shape the way the digital world will look. What started with a small group of researchers and a simple problem is about to go global. As the idea of live streaming takes hold, as the feed flickers again, you can almost feel the weight of what's happening. The coffee pot, once just an object to be used, has now become a symbol of how technology can change the way we experience the world, how we connect with each other, and how we share the small, everyday moments that make up our lives. And while no one in the Trojan room fully understands it yet, this webcam has already begun to shape the future in ways no one could have imagined. Asterisk, it's strange to think about how something so small, so unassuming, could have such a ripple effect. In the weeks that follow, the coffee pot webcam becomes more than just a tool in the Trojan room. It's a small, shared experience that's quietly changing the lab's culture. There's an unspoken connection between the researchers now, a sense of unity that comes from having this small digital window into each other's lives. The feed isn't just about checking the coffee pot anymore. It's become a way for the team to feel connected without having to leave their desks. They've become dependent on it in a way they hadn't anticipated. A quiet ritual that ties them all together. And it's not just the researchers in the Trojan room who are starting to feel the pull of this new digital connection. As news of the coffee pot webcam spreads, other teams at the University of Cambridge begin to experiment with similar setups. What was once a quirky inside joke is slowly becoming a template for other projects. The idea of using a webcam to observe a small, everyday task, even as the researchers continue their work. unaware of the broader implications of their webcam experiment. You sense that the impact of this small, grainy image will extend far beyond this lab. The coffee pot webcam has already set a precedent. It has opened the door to a new kind of communication, one that's based on the immediacy of digital presence. It may have started with a simple coffee pot, but its legacy will be the future is already unfolding, and the coffee pot webcam is just the beginning. Asterisk as the months continue to pass. The coffee pot webcam solidifies its role as more than just a quirky novelty. In the Trojan room, it has seamlessly integrated into the daily lives of the researchers. No one thinks much of it anymore. The feed, once a subject of humorous discussion, has become as regular as the background hum of the old machines. The researchers glance at it when they need to know whether to take a break for a refill. It's no longer a joke. It's a part of their routine, woven quietly into the fabric of their working lives. But as the webcam continues to stream, quietly updating every few seconds, something larger begins to happen. The concept of real-time digital presence, once limited to niche academic or technical applications, is beginning to catch on. Outside the Trojan room, across the internet, people start to recognize the potential of live streaming. The idea of checking in on something remotely, whether it's a coffee pot, a weather station, or even a personal moment, becomes increasingly appealing. The coffee pot webcam, though unremarkable in its own right, becomes the first spark in a larger digital shift. The shift is subtle at first, almost imperceptible. You notice it in the small ways people begin to interact with the webcam. The lab members don't just check the coffee pot out of curiosity. They check it to plan their day, to gauge whether it's time for a break or whether they need to power through for a little while longer. The webcam has become part of the rhythm of their daily routine. It's no longer about observing a coffee pot. It's about checking in on something in real time, about being digitally present in a way that wasn't possible before. Historians still debate the significance of the coffee pot webcam. Some argue that it wasn't the first webcam, nor the first example of live streaming technology. Similar technologies existed for specific purposes: wither cameras, security feeds, and early research cameras all used real-time video. But the coffee pot webcam, despite its simplicity, stands out. It was born out of a very human need, convenience, and it opened the door to something much bigger. The coffee pot webcam wasn't about surveillance or broadcasting events. It was about connecting with the everyday moments of life. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't high-tech, but it was relatable. It connected people with something they could all understand. The shared experience of trying to stay awake and get work done. This shift from technology as a tool to technology as a bridge for connection is one of the most profound effects of the coffee pot webcam. It wasn't just about sharing video. It was about sharing presence. The idea that you could observe something in real time without being physically present was new. It was revolutionary in its simplicity, and over time, this idea would take hold. As the internet evolved, so too did the idea of always being connected. Real-time streaming of everyday moments would become the norm. The webcam started out as a solution to a small, personal problem, but it was the first step in a cultural shift that would lead to the explosion of live streaming platforms, social media, and digital interaction as we know it today. As the researchers continue to check the feed, no one notices how their actions have become part of a larger cultural shift. The webcam, which once felt like a funny idea, has grown into something far more important. It's a small piece of digital technology that has helped shape the way people experience the world online. No longer is the internet a place for distant information or niche communities. It's a place for shared experiences where everyone can connect, see, and observe the world in real time. You look back at the webcam feed. The coffee pot, still steaming, still quiet, has become more than just an object in a lab. It's a symbol of the digital age, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where technology connects us in ways we never thought possible. The feed may still be grainy. It may still be imperfect, but that's part of its charm. What started with a coffee pot will eventually grow into something far more complex, far more pervasive. The humble webcam feed is the beginning of the always-on world, the world where digital presence is constant, and where everything is just a click away. As you sit back and reflect on the journey of the coffee pot webcam, you can't help but be amazed at how such a simple tool has shaped the future. It wasn't meant to change the world. It wasn't meant to launch a digital revolution. But in its quiet simplicity, it did. And as the feed continues, flickering on the screen, it's easy to see how a tiny moment in a tired lab has changed the world in ways no one could have predicted. As you watch the coffee pot webcam continue to stream, its grainy feed almost becomes a part of the digital landscape you can't unsee. Even though the initial novelty has worn off for the researchers in the Trojan room, something far bigger is at play. What started as a quirky solution to a small, mundane problem is now shaping the way we interact with technology. The coffee pot, still steaming in the corner, has transcended its physical form and become a symbol of the digital age, one that's about to redefine human connection. This humble webcam, pointed at an everyday object, has become the first iteration of something that will soon become as ubiquitous as the internet itself. Live-streaming. The idea of watching something in rhythm from anywhere in the world is starting to take root. While the webcam feed still seems trivial, the implications are growing. What began with a simple image of a coffee pot will soon expand to entire lives shared with the world. People begin to see the value in observing everyday life in real time, whether it's a distant event, a personal moment, or an intimate look into someone's routine. The coffee pot webcam is a perfect example of how the smallest pieces of technology can create massive cultural shifts. The feed, once thought to be an amusing distraction, is becoming an early experiment in the world of live streaming. It's the first hint of what will become a global movement. The rise of always-on digital presence. Historians still argue about whether this was truly the beginning of live streaming technology. Some argue that other webcams and digital feeds predated the coffee pot webcam, but the difference lies in the intention. The other cameras were either for surveillance, weather observation, or research purposes. The coffee pot webcam, however, was never about surveillance or research. It was about connecting to something human. It was about making life easier, about connecting to a shared experience. It was the first step in a shift that would soon make digital presence as common as walking down the hall. The coffee pot webcam's reach, though initially limited to a small lab, is becoming part of something larger. As the idea of sharing real-time observations spreads beyond Cambridge, people begin to realize the potential of the webcam. It's not just about seeing a coffee pot or even a person. It's about sharing a part of life. The notion that you could digitally observe something, live and unfiltered, is taking hold. It's a small idea at first, but it's one that will grow and multiply. The potential applications are endless, from video calls to online events, from distant news feeds to social media influencers broadcasting their lives. The coffee pot webcam is where it all begins, a small piece of technology that serves as the foundation for what is to come. It's interesting to think about how far we've come since that first, simple feed. You can almost feel the shift happening in real time, how the internet is changing the way people interact with each other. What was once an academic tool for research has turned into something that defines modern life. The ability to stream a moment of life, to connect with people from all over the world in real time, is now something we take for granted. But none of this would have been possible without that small, grainy webcam pointed at a coffee pot. It's an odd, humbling thought that something so seemingly trivial could spark an entire cultural and technological revolution. Now, you look back at the feed, knowing that the impact of this small experiment will echo through the years to come. The coffee pot webcam isn't just a tool for checking coffee levels anymore. It's a portal, a gateway to a new world of digital connection. What started with a laugh in a tired lab is now the beginning of a global digital transformation. And though no one in the Trojan room fully understood it at the time, their experiment is about to change the way the world communicates, watches, and connects with each other. The webcam is still streaming. The coffee pot is still there, still steaming away. And with each refresh, you can feel the future moving closer. The future of live streaming, the future of always-on digital presence, and the future of a world where connection is no longer bound by physical proximity, but instead defined by a constant, real-time digital presence. And it all started here, with a simple coffee pot and a webcam. Asterisk, as the coffee pot webcam continues to hum softly in the background of the Trojan room, the lab's daily rhythms remain undisturbed. The researchers no longer pause to joke about the fed. It's a part of the landscape now, as familiar as the hum of the machines or the rustle of papers. The webcam has become more than just a tool. It's become a fixture, a quiet companion to the work being done. You realize, though, that the quietness of the moment, this seemingly small, unremarkable piece of technology, marks the beginning of something monumental. The idea that a digital feed can connect people to the mundane will one day explode into a culture where streaming is as normal as walking to the kitchen. The significance of the coffee pot webcam starts to become clearer now. What was initially a simple solution to a minor inconvenience has become the first step toward a global revolution. The concept of real-time observation, of being present through technology, begins to take shape here, in this dimly lit, coffee-scented room. This grainy webcam feed, though hardly glamorous, represents something much larger. The first inklings of a digital world where connection, not just information, is the primary currency. It's a glimpse into the future of communication, where people will connect and interact digitally in ways that were once unimaginable. Historians still debate whether the coffee pot webcam was truly the first of its kind. Some point to earlier webcam experiments, like the early security feeds or weather cam. Now a quiet fixture in the Trojan room, continues its steady rhythm. It flickers occasionally, updating the grainy image every few seconds. It's no longer a source of amusement for the researchers. It's just part of the backdrop of their day. It's strange to think about how something so simple could have such a far-reaching impact. But as the weeks pass, the webcam starts to feel like something more than just a practical tool. It becomes part of the lab's culture, part of its identity. The coffee pot isn't just a coffee pot anymore. It's a digital participant in the life of the lab. A symbol of the shift toward a more connected, always-on world. The implications of this tiny, unassuming webcam continue to unfold. What began as an experiment in convenience has sparked a quiet revolution. The idea of real-time, live observation has moved beyond a simple webcam feed to something that will eventually become an integral part of the way people live and connect. The coffee pot webcam, once a way to check if there's enough coffee, has turned into a glimpse of the digital future where being connected, always and everywhere, is the norm. And though no one in the Trojan room quite realizes it yet, they're already part of that future. You think about how this small webcam feed has set the stage for something larger. It was never meant to be a technological breakthrough. It was just a way to make life a little easier for a group of tired researchers. But as the concept of digital presence begins to take shape, the significance of this small act becomes clearer. The webcam has shown how technology can bridge the gap between physical distance and digital presence. It's the first example of how real-time streaming can bring people together, even when they're physically apart. What was once a private, isolated feed is now a precursor to the live streaming culture we all know today. As time passes, the digital landscape evolves, and live streaming moves beyond a novelty to become a mainstream activity. Social media platforms, streaming services, and personal blogs all incorporate real-time video sharing, changing the way people experience the world. The coffee pot webcam is a direct ancestor of these technologies. The very simplicity of its original purpose, showing a coffee pot, is what makes it so powerful. It wasn't about grandiose ambitions or complicated technology. It was about capturing a small, everyday moment and making it accessible to others in real time. And that simple act would lay the foundation for an entire culture of live streaming, where the boundaries between the physical and the digital continue to blur. Historians still argue about whether the coffee pot webcam was truly the first webcam to create digital connection. Some point to other live feed experiments, like the famous weather cams or early security cameras. But those systems lacked the human touch, the personal connection that the coffee pot webcam embodied. This webcam wasn't about surveillance or monitoring. It was about presence. It was about making life more efficient in a way that felt both personal and practical. It was the first step in creating a connected world, where digital observation is as natural as seeing something with your own eyes. The researchers in the Trojan room may not have realized it at the time, but the coffee pot webcam would come to represent something much bigger than just a solution to a minor problem. It would represent the beginning of the live streaming culture that would soon dominate the internet. And though it was just a simple tool, it was a tool that would change the way we see and experience the world forever. As you reflect on this, you can't help but marvel at how far we've come since that first grainy, pixelated feed. The world now runs on real-time connection. Live streams fill our social media feeds. Video conferences keep us connected across vast distances. The ability to share moments in real time, to observe the world without physically being there, is now part of our daily lives. And it all began with a simple webcam aimed at a coffee pot in a tired, fluorescent-lit room. Now as you watch the webcam flicker again, you realize that the coffee pot feed has become more than just a technological curiosity. It's a symbol of the future, where the digital and physical worlds will continue to merge, where we'll be able to experience and share the ordinary in extraordinary ways. The coffee pot may no longer be the star of the show, but its legacy is undeniable. This webcam, this simple feed, has laid the groundwork for a new era in which digital presence is as commonplace as the air we breathe. And all of it started here, in this small, dimly lit room at the University of Cambridge. the quiet persistence of the coffee pot. The webcam is now part of the Trojan room's digital landscape, no longer a source of amusement, but a constant presence that influences the researchers' routines in subtle ways. As the stream flickers on, its pixelated image unchanged, it remains a quiet reminder of how digital tools can infiltrate everyday life. The webcam, in its simplicity, becomes a part of the rhythm of the room. You start to see the shift. It's no longer just a solution to a mundane problem. It's part of a larger cultural transformation. The coffee pot webcam, though still focused on something as trivial as coffee, has unwittingly set the stage for the rise of real-time digital presence. The idea of live streaming in real, once novel and experimental, has become a concept that starts to gain real traction. You begin to notice the growing interest in this simple form of digital connection. While it's still just a coffee pot in a university lab, the implications are people begin to see the potential of live streaming beyond checking coffee pots, beyond mundane observations. They begin to understand that digital tools can connect them to others, that they can share their experiences and observe the world in real time. Without the constraints of physical space, it's almost impossible to grasp the far-reaching implications of this humble webcam feed in the moment. At the time, it's just a quirky idea, a funny, impractical solution to a small problem. But in retrospect, it becomes clear that the coffee pot webcam was the first moment of a cultural shift that would eventually lead to the rise of live streaming platforms, social media networks, and digital communities. The world of always-on connection was about to begin, and this tiny webcam was at the center of it. Historians will likely argue whether the coffee pot webcam deserves to be credited as the first example of live streaming technology. They'll point to other video feeds, some even older, that were used for practical purposes like weather monitoring or scientific experiments. But there's something special about the coffee pot webcam. It wasn't just about observation or technical ability. It was about connecting with people over something universally relatable. Everyone has been there waiting for the coffee pot to be full, trying to decide whether it's worth the walk down the hall. It wasn't about grandeur or spectacle. It was about bringing people into the moment, offering a peek into everyday life, and giving people a reason to connect with something so simple. As the coffee pot webcam continues to run, you begin to see how it's quietly influencing the way the researchers think about the role of technology in their lives. What started as a simple, practical solution has become a constant presence in their workflow. It's no longer about getting coffee or avoiding unnecessary steps. It's about the act of checking in, of being present in a moment, of sharing a slice of life. This simple webcam, aimed at a mundane object, is laying the foundation for a larger system of digital connection, one that will soon become the backbone of the internet. You realize that the coffee pot webcam is more than just a tool for checking coffee levels. It's a doorway into a future where the ordinary can be shared and experienced in real time, where distance is no longer a barrier to connection. The idea of live streaming was once a novelty, a quirky idea meant for niche applications. But the coffee pot webcam proves that even the most mundane aspects of life can be shared. And in doing so, it introduces the concept of digital presence. What started as a joke, a bit of digital laziness, is now the first step in creating a connected, always-on world. As you watch the webcam flicker again, you can almost feel the pulse of this new era. The coffee pot might still be steaming away in the corner, but the world is changing around it. This small, grainy feed is a precursor to the future one where the digital and physical worlds merge seamlessly. where live streaming becomes just as normal as checking email. The coffee pot webcam might have been an accidental innovation, but its legacy is undeniable. It has sparked something that will continue to grow, something that will shape how we interact with the world around us. The steady hum of the coffee pot webcam continues, as does the quiet revolution it represents. The researchers in the Trojan room go about their work, occasionally glancing at the screen to see if the coffee pot is still full. Their actions as automatic as any daily routine. The webcam has become just another part of the lab's ecosystem, no longer drawing attention, but still, in its own quiet way, transforming the space. The researchers no longer joke about the webcam, they no longer need to. It has woven itself so deeply into their daily lives that it's become invisible. It's not a novelty anymore. It's simply part of how they do things now, but you can feel the change happening beneath the surface. As the feed continues to update, the concept of live streaming, once a novelty, is beginning to feel like an inevitability. The coffee pot webcam, in its simplicity, has shown the world that real-time observation can be something valuable, something that doesn't need to be grand or extravagant to be meaningful. It's not about broadcasting massive events or showing off the most exciting moments. It's about sharing something small and ordinary, like checking to see if there's enough coffee. That's where the real power lies, in the mundane, in the ordinary, in the ability to digitally observe life as it happens. Even in the smallest moments, historians will continue to argue whether this webcam is the first example of live streaming technology. Some will point to earlier webcam experiments, like the ones in weather stations or surveillance setups, but none of those had the same humanity, the same intimacy as the coffee pot webcam. This webcam wasn't about watching from afar. It was about creating a shared, real-time experience, about inventing something flashy, impressive, or even revolutionary in the traditional sense. It was about creating something that made life a little easier, more efficient. And in doing so, it unlocked the potential for a new form of interaction. The webcam fed the growing idea that people could share in real time, that the world could be observed and experienced together, even from far apart. The coffee pot, once a simple object, became a small, digital space where a shared experience took place. Over the next few years, as the internet continues to grow and evolve, the coffee pot webcam's legacy is quietly cemented. The live streaming culture it helped give birth to spreads like wildfire. Platforms that allow anyone to stream anything, from personal moments to major global events, emerge. The ability to share one's life, from mundane moments to important milestones, becomes ingrained in how we communicate and connect. What was once a grainy webcam feed aimed at a coffee pot will soon become a global, everyday phenomena, cultural shift in how we live digitally. As the feed updates one more time, you think back to how simple the webcam's initial concept was. It wasn't meant to change the world. It wasn't intended to reshape communication. But in making the mundane visible, the coffee pot webcam helped lay the foundation for a world where everything, every little moment, could be shared and experienced in real time. It made the idea of being always on a reality. What started as a simple solution to an everyday problem, the need for coffee has grown into something much larger. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound changes in the world don't come from grand ideas. They come from small, thoughtful moments that take on a life of their own. And though the coffee pot has long since been replaced by other, more advanced technologies, its impact is undeniable. It's a legacy that is constantly shared and experienced through digital lenses, through live-streamed moments of our daily lives. Every moment, no matter how small, can now be witnessed by anyone, anywhere. It's a far cry from that grainy image of a coffee pot in a dimly lit room. But it all traces its origins back to that very moment. Historians still debate whether the coffee pot webcam can truly be credited with starting this digital revolution. After all, other streaming experiments were happening around the world at the time. Yet, none of those had the same widespread cultural resonance. None of those were as simple, as accessible, or as human. The coffee pot webcam wasn't built for glamour, for spectacle, or for mass appeal. It was just a tool to solve a small, everyday problem. And yet, in its simplicity, it opened the door to a new world. The rise of live streaming culture, which began as a novelty for a group of researchers, soon became a cultural phenomenon, with people around the world embracing the ability to share and witness moments in real time. You realize, too, that the true power of the coffee pot webcam lies not in its technical innovations, but in its ability to connect people through shared everyday experiences. Live streaming as we know it today is often defined by its spectacle: concerts, sporting events, influencer broadcasts. But the coffee pot webcam represents the first true democratization of digital presence. It wasn't about broadcasting a performance or creating content. It was about making a mundane task, checking a coffee pot, part of the digital ecosystem. And that, more than any technical advancement, is what set it apart. It wasn't just a novelty, it was the start of a new way of thinking about digital connection, where even the most ordinary aspects of life could be shared, experienced, and observed in real time. As you reflect on this, you can't help but marvel at the simplicity of it all. The coffee pot webcam wasn't designed to change the world. It wasn't even meant to be remembered, but in its grainy, pixelated image, it captured the first steps toward a connected, always-on world. A world where we now share, observe, and participate in each other's lives in real time. The coffee pot webcam, in its quiet persistence, became an emblem of the future of future, where technology wouldn't just connect us, but where it would make the most ordinary moments available to everyone. The feed continues. Now, as familiar as it ever was, the coffee pot quietly steaming away in the corner. It's hard to believe that this simple object and this simple webcam would one day spark a global cultural transformation. But here, in the quiet, dimly lit Trojan room, it all began. The coffee pot webcam wasn't just a piece of technology, was the first digital link in a chain that would soon extend across the globe, making the ordinary extraordinary, the unseen visible, and the remote real. It all started here, and from this small, grainy feed, the world of live streaming was born. Asterisk, as you continue to watch the coffee pot webcam, you begin to reflect on how far we've come from that simple, pixelated feed. The internet, which began as a disconnected collection of networks, has evolved into something that is now inextricably linked to our daily lives. What was once a small, quirky experiment to check if coffee was ready has now laid the groundwork for a new digital world, one where live streaming has become second nature, and digital presence is no longer a novelty but an essential part of how we connect with each other. The coffee pot webcam, though still quietly humming away in the background, has become a symbol of that shift. The concept that helped introduce the ability to observe, share, and connect in real time has now expanded beyond a simple webcam feed into something vast and deeply embedded in our culture. Live streaming isn't just for checking coffee pots anymore. It's for sharing personal moments, broadcasting global events, and connecting with others in ways that were once unimaginable. In many ways, this shift has defined the internet we know today, a space where everything is accessible in real, where life is lived and shared digitally, and where we are always connected, always present. What's fascinating is how quickly live streaming has become a part of the fabric of digital life. The first real live-streamed moments were humble, almost accidental, like the coffee pot webcam. But as the world embraced the idea of real-time digital connection, the technology evolved, the platforms grew, and the possibilities exploded. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter began to incorporate live streaming features, allowing people to share their lives with the world in real time. Video platforms like YouTube and Twitch turned streaming into a global phenomenon, with people sharing everything from gaming sessions to daily vlogs to global events. The coffee pot webcam, though small and limited in its scope, is the first example of how the internet would eventually evolve into a space for constant live connection. Historians may debate whether the coffee pot webcam truly deserves to be the first milestone in the history of live streaming technology. After all, webcams and video feeds existed before this moment. But what sets the coffee pot apart is the context in which it was used. It wasn't about broadcasting events to an audience. It wasn't about surveillance or data collection. It was about something much simpler, the ability to connect with a small group of people over something mundane. It was a subtle reminder that technology's true power isn't always in grand gestures or technological breakthroughs. Sometimes, it's in the everyday moments, the small acts of connection, that technology makes the biggest impact. The coffee pot webcam wasn't about technological superiority, it was about creating connection now. As the webcam continues to run, you begin to understand the true significance of its legacy. The coffee pot webcam wasn't just a piece of tech history. It wasn't even meant to be remembered, but it became the foundation for everything that followed. The global growth of live streaming, the digital communities that would emerge, and the way we would eventually experience the world through real-time digital connection. In a sense, that simple coffee pot, captured in grainy pixels, is more than just a quirky experiment. It's the starting point for a new way of communicating, of sharing, and of being present in the world. The feed flickers again, and the coffee pot remains as unchanged as ever, quietly steaming in the corner. It's hard to believe that such a small, insignificant thing could have started a cultural shift, but it did. The coffee pot webcam wasn't just a tool, it was a moment in time, the first step in a global transformation that would change the way people lived, worked, and connected forever. And it all began here, in the quiet of the Trojan room, with a webcam, a coffee pot, and a group of researchers who never dreamed their small experiment would end up shaping the future of the internet. As the years pass, the coffee pot webcam fades from the memory of the researchers in the Trojan room, but its influence continues to spread, quietly yet undeniably, across the digital world. The feed, once a novelty, has now become part of the foundational lore of the internet, referred to in online forums and digital history as the birthplace of live streaming culture. What once was a small project meant to avoid unnecessary trips for caffeine has now taken on a new significance. The humble webcam, aimed at a coffee pot, symbolizes the very beginning of a global shift toward shared, real-time digital presence. The concept of live streaming, which began with the simple goal of making life a little easier, quickly spreads. What was once a unique solution to a coffee shortage has evolved into a massive digital ecosystem where everything from personal moments to major global events can be observed in real time. The coffee pot webcam, though small and grainy in its early days, is now seen as the precursor to a cultural revolution, the era of constant, instantaneous connection where everyone can share their world. No matter where they are, you think back to those early days, the dimly lit lab, the tired researchers, and the flickering webcam feed. It seems almost impossible now, given how much the internet has evolved, to think that such a small, simple idea would eventually change the world. Yet, in retrospect, it's clear that the coffee pot webcam was the spark that lit the fire of the always-on digital world we live in today. The idea that we could all be connected, that we could observe the world in real time, was nothing new in itself. But the coffee pot webcam made that idea real in a way that had never been done before. Historians still debate the true significance of the coffee pot webcam. But what's undeniable is that it was the first widely recognized example of live streaming technology, albeit in its most basic form. Some might argue that other video feeds, such as the early weather cams or surveillance cameras, preceded it. But those technologies, while important, were focused on observation and monitoring, not connection. The coffee pot webcam was different. It connected people, even if only in a small, private way. It opened the door to a world where technology could connect us to the most mundane and ordinary moments of life. And in doing so, it set the stage for the future of digital communication by now. The world has embraced live streaming, but it's easy to forget where it all began. The coffee pot webcam has become a piece of digital folklore, an early experiment that, in its simplicity, changed the way we interact with the world. Every time you scroll through a social media feed or tune in to a live stream, you're participating in the legacy of that early webcam. The everyday moments we share with others, the personal glimpses into our lives, are all built on the foundation of the coffee pot webcam, a tool that allowed us to connect with others through the most mundane of objects. As you reflect on the impact of the coffee pot webcam, you start to see how everything has come full circle. The once simple, grainy feed has evolved into a powerful cultural force. The coffee pot, though still as ordinary as ever, has become a symbol for how technology can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. It was never meant to change the world, yet it did. What started as a small solution to a small problem has grown into something much larger, something that will continue to influence the way we experience life in the digital age. Now, as you gaze at the coffee pot feed again, it's easy to see how this humble experiment has transformed our world. It's a reminder that small moments, small ideas, can often lead to the greatest changes. The coffee pot webcam, in its quiet persistence, helped to lay the groundwork for a connected, always-on world where the ordinary can be shared and experienced in real time, and where we're never truly far apart. The world continues to evolve, and with it, the way we interact with the digital space. The coffee pot webcam, once a simple convenience, now seems like a relic of a bygone era in the ever-expanding world of live streaming. Yet, despite its humble beginnings, it continues to resonate as a symbol of the early days of digital connection. It wasn't designed to be groundbreaking, but its quiet role in the emergence of a global, interconnected society cannot be denied. Today, live streaming is an essential part of the digital ecosystem, shaping how we communicate, how we connect, and how we experience life. You think about the early days when the webcam first flickered into life. It's hard to imagine, looking at the advanced technologies of today, that something as basic as a coffee pot could have ignited such a massive shift. But in those early moments, it was an experiment, one that opened the door to a new form of communication, a new way of being present in the world. It wasn't about broadcasting something grand or monumental. It was about sharing a small, everyday moment and realizing that connection, real-time connection, could be achieved in a new way, looking at how far things have come. It's astounding to think that the digital world, as we know it today, owes so much to that small, grainy webcam feed. Live streaming has transformed from a niche, novelty concept into something that touches almost every part of our lives. From the rise of platforms like YouTube and Twitch, where people can share everything from their gaming sessions to their daily routines, to the integration of live streaming in social media, networks, and even corporate environments. What was once a simple webcam aimed at a coffee pot is now the bedrock of an entire industry. Historians will forever argue over whether this moment, the coffee pot webcam, truly sparked the live streaming era, or if it was simply an accident of digital history. But regardless of how it's remembered, what's undeniable is that it was a key piece of the puzzle. It showed people what was possible. It demonstrated that we could digitally observe the most ordinary, mundane aspects of life in real time. And it created the first inkling of what would later become a digital culture obsessed with sharing, broadcasting, and experiencing life together in real time. What started as a simple experiment soon became a digital revolution. You also begin to notice the way the digital world has embraced this concept. Just as the researchers in the Trojan room embraced their coffee pot webcam without truly realizing its significance. The connections we now share through live streaming are second nature to most of us, woven into the fabric of daily life. We are no longer limited to static, pre-recorded content. We can engage with people and moments as they happen. We can share everything from the small details of our day to massive global events all in real time. And this wouldn't be possible without that humble webcam that started it all. Even as the coffee pot feed flickers on, its presence has transformed. It's no longer the groundbreaking moment it once was. Instead, it represents the quiet foundation upon which everything else has been built. The feed now serves as a reminder of how small, seemingly insignificant acts larger cultural shift. The coffee pot webcam, without ever intending to, helped set the stage for a digital future defined by connection, presence, and the immediacy of live streaming. The world we live in today, the one where social media influencers share their lives, where businesses live stream events, where families connect across continents via video calls, is a direct result of this one tiny moment in the Trojan room. You reflect on how something so simple, so mundane, can have such far-reaching consequences. A camera, a coffee pot, and a few tired researchers turned into the foundation of an entire era. The coffee pot webcam wasn't meant to change the world, but in its very simplicity, it did. As you sit back and watch the feed, it's difficult to not feel a sense of awe. The world has changed, and it continues to evolve. And though it all started with a simple experiment in a quiet, dimly lit lab, you know that the legacy of the coffee pot webcam will continue to influence the digital world for generations to come. Real-time connection is no longer a novelty. It's a way of life. And the coffee pot webcam, in its unassuming way, will forever be a part of that transformation. As the digital world we live in grows ever more connected, the coffee pot webcam seems like a small, almost quaint artifact of a bygone era. Yet, as time passes, its legacy grows stronger. It's remarkable to think that something so simple, so modest in its beginnings, would lay the foundation for the overwhelming digital presence that dominates our lives today. When you reflect on the earliest days of the internet, where the idea of live streaming was limited to specialized applications, it's easy to forget how far we've come. From checking coffee levels in a university lab to live streaming major global events, the trajectory of digital connection has evolved dramatically. The coffee pot webcam may have started as a tool for the researchers in the Trojan room, but its influence spreads far beyond that dimly lit space. The idea of digital presence, of being able to witness something in real time without being physically present, has grown into a cultural norm. Now, it's common to share everything from mundane activities, like cooking meals, to monumental moments, like political events in real time, and to do so on platforms that allow the world to see and participate in those moments. We're now constantly plugged into a digital web, one where live streams flow endlessly, creating a global tapestry of shared experiences. The coffee pot webcam, in its simplest form, set a precedent. It was a small step toward a larger shift in how we perceive time and space in a digital context. Live streaming didn't become a widespread phenomenon overnight, but this humble experiment focused on the everyday task of checking the coffee pot was a catalyst for what was to come. The webcam was never intended to revolutionize digital media. It was merely a clever way to save time and avoid unnecessary steps. But in solving such a mundane problem, it paved the way for a new way of thinking about presence and connection in a digital world. It's easy to dismiss the coffee pot webcam as a simple, quaint relic of early internet experimentation, but it has evolved into a symbol for something far larger: the democratization of live streaming. Today, live streaming is an integral part of how we communicate, entertain, and inform. Platforms like Twitch, YouTube Live, and Facebook Live have taken what started as a single webcam feed and turned it into a worldwide phenomenon, where anyone can broadcast their lives, opinions, and creativity to an audience big or small. The coffee pot webcam, in its unassuming, was the first step in creating a world where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, where the everyday is worthy of being shared, and where connection through real-time observation is just a part of our daily lives. Historians, over time, will remember the coffee pot webcam as one of the first moments when the internet truly became a space for shared presence. At the time, no one understood just how significant that grainy webcam feed would become. To the researchers in the Trojan room, it was just a tool for convenience, a quirky solution to a simple problem. But in retrospect, we can see that it was something more. It was the first glimmer of an entirely new digital culture, one where being present, connected, and always on would be the defining characteristics of the internet. The coffee pot webcam may have been an accidental innovation, but its impact was profound and far-reaching. The evolution from that simple webcam feed to the world of live streaming today is staggering. The webcam may have captured something as trivial as coffee, but it also captured a new kind of digital reality, one where real-time presence is possible, where shared experiences can be broadcast instantly to a global audience, and where the mundane is just as worthy of being observed as the extraordinary. The coffee pot webcam is, in essence, the spark that ignited the fire of always-on digital culture. As the feed continues to flicker, and the coffee pot slowly empties and refills, you can't help but feel a sense of nostalgia for the simplicity of it all. The digital world has grown more complex, more sophisticated, and more connected than anyone could have imagined in the early days. But despite all the advancements, the essence of the coffee pot webcam remains. It's a reminder that sometimes the most profound shifts come from the simplest ideas, from a webcam aimed at a coffee pot, came a new understanding of connection, presence, and the power of digital technology to bring people together. What started as a way to avoid walking to an empty coffee pot has evolved into the cornerstone of how we now connect, share, and experience the world. The coffee pot webcam's impact is subtle but undeniable. It's a legacy that continues to shape the digital world, one live stream at a time. Asterisk as the years continue to pass. The coffee pot webcam quietly becomes a cornerstone of digital history. Its grainy, pixelated feed may seem outdated now, but in its simplicity, it helped shape the very framework of the digital world we live in today. The transformation from a quirky, inside joke among researchers to a foundation of live streaming culture reflects the subtle yet profound way in which technology becomes integrated into everyday life. The webcam's humble beginning, just pointing at a coffee pot in a lab, is now a symbol of how small, often overlooked innovations can have massive, far-reaching consequences. The world now exists in an era of constant connectivity, where digital presence is the norm. Social media influencers, businesses, and even casual users broadcast their lives in real time. Everyone can share moments, experiences, and opinions in ways that were once unimaginable. In essence, we live in a world where the ordinary is often the most watched and the most shared. And it all started with a simple webcam and a coffee pot in a small university lab. The implications of the coffee pot webcam now echo in every live-streamed moment. From a family reunion broadcasted across continents to a viral moment streamed on social media. As you reflect on how far we've come, you realize that the coffee pot webcam helped usher in the concept of an always-on world. Live streaming was born from this moment, but it didn't remain in the isolated, academic spaces where it began. It expanded quickly and widely, becoming a staple of modern life. Platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitch are now global hubs where millions of people share real-time moments. Streaming is no longer confined to a niche or a novelty. It's central to how we live, work, and communicate. What began as a practical solution for a group of overworked, caffeine-dependent researchers has become a foundational element of modern internet culture. Real-time, digital communication and shared presence are now woven into the fabric of nearly every digital interaction we have. Whether we're watching a live concert, engaging with a brand's live Q&A, or catching up with friends over a virtual coffee, the ability to observe life unfold in real time is now an expectation rather than a curiosity. And all of it traces its origins back to the coffee pot webcam, a tool that was never meant to change the world, but somehow did. The researchers in the Trojan room may not have realized it at the time, but they were part of something transformative. The simplicity of their solution to a mundane problem has rippled outward into a global movement. Their small private webcam feed pointed at an object as mundane as a coffee pot became the spark that ignited a cultural shift. It showed the world that real-time connection, digital presence, and shared experiences could be achieved through technology. It was the beginning of a new era, one where the lines between the physical and the digital blur, and where technology becomes the bridge to an ever-connected world. As you sit back and watch the coffee pot webcam feed once again, you can't help but feel a sense of wonder. The world has changed in ways no one could have predicted. And yet, it all started here, in a quiet university lab, with a simple webcam and a tired, caffeine-deprived researcher. The coffee pot may be gone, replaced by more advanced technologies, but its legacy remains. It's a testament to how something small, something seemingly trivial, can change the world. The coffee pot webcam isn't just a piece of history. It's the foundation for everything that has followed in the realm of live streaming and digital connection. As the feed continues to refresh, you know that this moment, this simple experiment, will continue to ripple through the digital landscape for years to come. It may have been born out of a desire to make life a little more convenient, but in doing so, it has shaped an entire era. The coffee pot webcam wasn't just about a small experiment, it was about making the digital world a more connected, real-time experience, and it's a legacy that will continue to influence how we share, communicate, and experience life for generations. As the final flickers of the coffee pot webcam feed settle into the quiet hum of the digital space, you begin to feel the weight of the journey. From the grainy, unassuming moments of the Trojan room to the vast, interconnected world we live in today, something small, something simple, has changed everything. The webcam, a humble observer of a coffee pot, has become a symbol of connection, presence, and shared experience. It's a quiet reminder that even the smallest beginnings can create waves that ripple far beyond what we can imagine. The world has moved on from those early days, and technology has grown, evolving into something both familiar and unfamiliar. Live streaming, once a novel idea, has become a part of our daily lives, our communications, our communities. What started with a coffee pot has transformed into an era where we can experience moments in real time, from across the globe, with a click of a button now. As you sit in the stillness, the feed slowing to its familiar rhythm, you are reminded of how far we've come. And yet, in this moment, it's not about the rapid pace of technology or the endless streams of information. It's about the quiet, steady connection that started with something as simple as a coffee pot. The feed may be gone, but the legacy of that simple, grainy webcam remains, shaping the way we connect, share, and be present in each other's lives. Take a deep breath, let go of the rush, and feel the gentle hum of the digital world fade into the background. In this quiet space, we are all connected, sharing this moment across time, across distance, in the calm of a digital world. Sweet dreams.